Far beneath the icy surface of Europa, Jake Harrison's repair facility hummed with the sound of machinery. His workspace, carved into the moon's frozen crust, had earned him a reputation as the solar system's most resourceful mechanic. The location wasn't glamorous, but it offered something rare in the crowded inner planets: freedom to experiment. The facility's warning systems activated without warning. Proximity alerts flashed red across his screens, accompanied by readings unlike anything he'd seen before. Through the reinforced ice ceiling, designed to withstand Europa's intense pressure, he watched as something massive broke through the moon's frozen surface. The object moved with impossible grace, its hull seamlessly adapting to the environment, despite obvious damage. It wasn't human technology. The design was too organic, too fluid. As it settled near his facility, Jake noticed patterns of light rippling across its surface like neural pathways. "Well," he muttered, pulling on his pressure suit, "this is definitely going to void some warranties." The alien vessel's entry had carved a perfect tunnel through Europa's ice, but its landing was anything but smooth. As Jake approached, he noticed the ship's hull was riddled with microscopic fractures, each leaking a strange luminescent fluid that froze instantly in Europa's brutal cold. A voice suddenly filled his helmet, neither male nor female, but somehow both. "Your presence is unexpected." This sector was designated uninhabited. Jake paused, then continued his approach. "Yeah, well, I like my privacy. Name's Jake Harrison. Looks like you could use some help with those hull breaches. Our technological superiority makes your assistance unnecessary. This vessel will self-repair once proper conditions are achieved." The voice carried a hint of strain despite its artificial smoothness. Jake's handheld scanner told a different story. "Those fractures are spreading faster than they're healing. Your self-repair systems are fighting Europa's temperature, and they're losing. I'm guessing you didn't factor in -200 degrees Celsius when you designed them." There was a pause, followed by what sounded almost like a sigh. "I am Research Overseer Naira. Your assessment has merit, but your primitive tools cannot possibly interface with our systems." Jake reached the hull, running his gloved hand across its surface. The material felt alive, responding to his touch with subtle movements. Maybe not directly. But engineering is engineering, even across the stars. Physics doesn't change just because your tech is fancier. He pulled out his toolkit, a combination of standard repair equipment and his own custom-built devices. "Look, your hull is trying to maintain a specific molecular alignment, right? But the cold is forcing it into a crystalline structure. I can't stop that process, but I might be able to help your systems adapt to it." "Impossible," Naira stated, but Jake detected curiosity beneath the dismissal. "Our research indicates human technology is centuries behind such capabilities." Jake grinned, already calibrating one of his devices. "That's because you're looking at our technology, not our creativity. Sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones." Over the next several hours, Jake worked tirelessly, using his understanding of Europa's extreme conditions to help Naira's ship adapt. He rigged thermal regulators to work with the vessel's own systems, teaching it to use the cold to its advantage rather than fighting against it. When standard tools failed, he improvised, once even using modified ice mining equipment to stabilize a particularly troublesome breach. Naira watched with growing fascination. "Your methods are unorthodox. Our civilization long ago abandoned such improvisation in favor of predictable, programmed responses." "That's your problem right there," Jake said, making another adjustment. "You've gotten so caught up in doing things the right way that you've forgotten there might be other ways that work too. Sometimes you need to let go of what should work and focus on what does work." As he worked, Naira shared more about her civilization, a society that had essentially banned emotional decision-making, believing pure logic was the only path to advancement. They saw humans as hopelessly primitive, too ruled by their feelings to achieve true greatness. And yet, Naira observed, your emotional responses appear to enhance your problem-solving abilities rather than hinder them. This contradicts all our research. Jake laughed, sealing another breach. That's because you're treating emotion and logic like they're enemies. They're not. They're tools, and the trick is knowing when to use which one. As Europa's eternal night cycled toward day, the ship's hull finally stabilized. The fractures had sealed themselves, but not in the way Naira's people had designed. Instead, the hull had adapted to Europa's conditions, forming new patterns that Jake suspected might actually be stronger than the original. Your assistance has been invaluable, Naira admitted, but this raises disturbing questions about our fundamental assumptions regarding human capability. Jake packed up his tools, smiling. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Questions lead to answers, and answers lead to progress. Isn't that logical? Before Naira could respond, alarms blared throughout both facilities. Multiple objects were approaching Europa at high speed. Ships similar to Naira's but larger, more ominous. The Enforcement Division. Naira's voice had changed, showing the first real emotion Jake had heard. Fear. They must have detected our interaction. This is prohibited. Your species is classified as too primitive for direct contact. Jake looked at the approaching ships, then back at his facility full of custom-built equipment and years of experiments. Well, he said, already forming plans, looks like you're about to get a crash course in human improvisation. The enforcement ship's arrival turned Europa's sky into a light show of pulsing energy signatures. Jake's years of solitary work on the moon had taught him every quirk of its environment, and he knew they had minutes at most before the ships could lock onto their position through the ice. Your facility. Naira's voice carried an unfamiliar urgency. Can it be sealed against detection? Jake was already moving, his fingers flying across control panels. Better than that. Watch and learn something your logic might have missed. Years of working in Europa's harsh conditions had taught Jake to prepare for every contingency. He activated a system of thermal maskers, originally designed to hide his experimental work from corporate surveys. The devices didn't try to block scans. Instead, they mimicked the natural thermal fluctuations of Europa's ice, making his facility virtually indistinguishable from the surrounding environment. Remarkable, Naira observed as the enforcement ship's initial sweep passed overhead. You've weaponized nature's own camouflage. Not weaponized, Jake corrected, continuing his preparations. Understood. There's a difference. Your people try to overcome nature. We've learned to work with it. The enforcement ships began a more detailed scan, their energy signatures penetrating deeper into the ice. Jake led Naira through his facility's lower levels, explaining his plan as they moved. Your ship's too damaged for space travel, but Europa's subsurface ocean might be our best chance. I've been mapping the liquid water channels beneath the ice for years. Impossible, Naira stated, but with less certainty than before. The pressure at those depths would crush any vessel. Jake grinned, stopping before a massive set of pressure doors. Beyond them sat what looked like a hybrid between a submarine and a mining drill, its hull covered in an intricate pattern of adjustable plates. Meet the Nautilus, my little side project, built to explore Europa's deep ocean channels. Your ship's adaptive hull technology gave me an idea. We can merge our systems. Naira's own hull rippled with patterns of light that Jake had begun to recognize as surprise. The technological gap between our species isn't as wide as you think, Jake interrupted, already connecting diagnostic equipment to both vessels. Your ship adapts automatically, but it's limited by its programming. My ship's simpler, but more flexible. Together, they might do what neither could alone. What followed was a crash course in cross-species engineering. Jake's understanding of practical mechanics complemented Naira's advanced theoretical knowledge. Where her ship's systems were too rigid, his provided flexibility. Where his technology lacked sophistication, hers filled the gaps. Your approach defies all established protocols, Naira observed as they worked. You make intuitive leaps that should be impossible without proper computational analysis. Jake ducked beneath a console, reconnecting power systems. That's because humans don't just think with our brains. We feel with our gut, our heart, our whole body. Sometimes you know something's right before you can prove why. The enforcement ships were getting closer, their scans becoming more focused. Jake could feel the ice vibrating above them as the alien vessels deployed more powerful detection systems. Time was running out. Your emotional responses, Naira said suddenly, her voice thoughtful. They appear to accelerate your problem-solving rather than impede it. This contradicts everything we believe about cognitive efficiency. Maybe because efficiency isn't everything, Jake replied, making final adjustments to their hybrid vessel. Sometimes you need to try the impossible to discover new possibilities. The merger of their technologies was unlike anything either had seen before. The Nautilus's robust but flexible hull now pulsed with the living energy of Naira's systems. Its sensors, enhanced by alien technology, could map the complex network of liquid channels beneath Europa's ice shelf with unprecedented clarity. The enforcer ships are beginning their final approach, Naira reported, her voice carrying a new edge of what might have been excitement. They will breach the ice barrier in approximately 7 minutes. Jake sealed the last connection between their systems. Then let's show them something they've never seen before, ready to break some rules about what's possible. For the first time, Naira's response carried no trace of artificial modulation. Yes, though I cannot explain why through pure logic, I trust your instincts. Jake fired up the hybrid vessel's engines, feeling the combined power of human ingenuity and alien technology humming through the hull. The interface he'd created merged his hands-on control with Naira's advanced navigation systems, creating something entirely new. Hold tight, he said, engaging the drill systems. We're about to prove that the best solutions come from combining heart and mind, not choosing between them. The hybrid vessel surged forward, drilling through Europa's ice with unprecedented precision. Behind them, the enforcement ships breached the surface, but they were too late. Jake and Naira's creation slipped into the subsurface ocean, leaving their pursuers facing an impossible choice: follow them into the unknown depths or admit that their rigid adherence to protocol had let their quarry escape. As they descended into the glowing blue depths of Europa's alien sea, Naira's voice held a new quality, something between wonder and revelation. Perhaps, she said, watching as Jake instinctively navigated through channels that her sensors were still processing, our assessment of human potential requires significant revision. Maybe, Jake replied, guiding them deeper into the moon's mysteries. We all need to revise our ideas about what's possible when different worlds come together. Above them, the enforcement ship's energy signatures faded, but both knew this was just the beginning. They had created something unprecedented, a fusion of emotion and logic, instinct and technology. Now they had to prove it wasn't just an escape route, but a path to something greater. Deep within Europa's subsurface ocean, the hybrid vessel glided through vast channels of liquid water, its hull gleaming with the combined technologies of two worlds. The bioluminescent bacteria native to these depths cast everything in an ethereal blue glow, creating shadows that danced across the ice caverns above them. Multiple pursuit signatures detected, Naira announced, her voice echoing through the merged systems. The enforcement vessels have adapted their configurations for underwater navigation. Jake studied the three-dimensional map they'd created, noting how the ocean currents flowed through the moon's interior. They may have adapted, but they don't know these waters. Not like we do. The hybrid vessel's sensors painted a complex picture of their surroundings. Massive ice formations hung from the ceiling like inverted mountains, while geothermal vents on the ocean floor created powerful currents that could either tear them apart or propel them to safety. These thermal currents, Naira observed, they're far more complex than our initial scans indicated. The enforcer ship's programmed responses won't account for all variables. Jake smiled, adjusting their course to ride the edge of a particularly strong current. That's where human intuition comes in handy. Sometimes you have to feel the flow rather than calculate it. Their pursuit was gaining, But Jake had spent years studying Europa's hidden waterways. He guided their vessel through increasingly narrow channels, using the moon's natural features to their advantage. The hybrid ship's combination of technologies allowed them to predict and ride the currents in ways neither human nor alien craft could manage alone. Warning, Naira's voice carried an unusual note of concern. We're approaching the thermal vent fields. Temperature differentials in this region exceed safe parameters for both our technologies. The thermal vents loomed ahead, massive black smokers belching superheated water into the frigid ocean. The temperature contrast created violent currents and deadly pressure waves. It was exactly what Jake had been looking for. Your people believe in removing emotion from decision-making, Jake said, plotting a course through the vent field. But sometimes the most logical choice is to trust your instincts. He guided their vessel into the chaos of the vent field. The hybrid ship's hull adjusted continuously, combining Naira's adaptive technology with Jake's pressure-resistant designs. They danced through the thermal plumes, using the turbulent waters to mask their signature, while the pursuit ships held back, their programmed safety protocols preventing them from following. Fascinating, Naira said, monitoring the enforcer ship's reactions. Their superior technology is actually limiting them. They cannot compute a safe path through this chaos fast enough to follow. That's because they're trying to calculate every possibility, Jake replied, feeling the currents through the ship's sensors. Sometimes you have to trust your gut and ride the wave. But the enforcer ships weren't giving up. They split up, attempting to surround the vent field and wait them out. Jake and Naira's power reserves were running low, and they couldn't hide in the thermal chaos forever. We need a new solution, Naira stated, her voice carrying what might have been frustration. Our combined technologies are revolutionary, but without a way to demonstrate their value to my people, we merely delay the inevitable. Jake watched the play of currents through the vent field. An idea forming. Maybe that's it. We're not just running away. We're proving a point. Your people think emotion makes us weak, but what if we could show them it makes us stronger? He brought up a detailed scan of the surrounding area. These vents aren't just obstacles. They're power sources. Your ship's energy absorption systems combined with my thermal regulators, we could harness the temperature differential. To what end? Naira asked, but her systems were already adapting to Jake's suggestions, their technologies merging in new ways. To show them something impossible, Jake said, beginning the modifications. Something that can only be achieved by combining logical precision with human intuition. They worked together, Jake's practical experience guiding Naira's advanced systems to create something unprecedented. They modified their hybrid vessel to not just survive the thermal vents but to use them, creating a feedback loop that turned the extreme environment into a power source. The enforcer ships continued their methodical approach, their sensors prodding the vent field. They expected their quarry to eventually emerge, weakened and depleted. Instead, they detected an energy signature unlike anything their civilization had encountered. Jake and Naira's vessel rose from the vent field, its hull gleaming with stored energy. The combination of technologies had created something new, a ship that could harness the very chaos it had been hiding in. Energy levels exceeding known parameters, Naira announced, but there was wonder in her artificial voice. We've created something that should not be possible according to my people's understanding of physics. That's because your people forgot something important, Jake said, guiding their creation toward the enforcer ships. The universe isn't just about order and chaos. It's about finding the balance between them. The enforcer ships moved to intercept, but their protocols hadn't prepared them for what they faced. The hybrid vessel danced through their formation, demonstrating capabilities that defied their programmed responses. It wasn't just superior technology. It was technology guided by human intuition, enhanced by emotion, rather than restricted by pure logic. Receiving multiple communications requests, Naira reported. The enforcer ships are confused. Their protocols don't account for what they're witnessing. Jake grinned. Then let's give them something else to think about. Ready to show your people why emotions aren't a weakness. Their hybrid vessel surged forward, not to escape, but to demonstrate. In the depths of Europa's alien ocean, they had created something that would force Naira's civilization to reconsider everything they believed about human potential, and perhaps about their own limitations as well. The enforcer ships surrounded them in a precise geometric formation, their hulls pulsing with barely contained energy. Through their hybrid vessel's enhanced sensors, Jake could see the confusion in their movement patterns, their programmed responses struggling to categorize what they were witnessing. "They're preparing to initiate containment protocols," Naira reported, her voice carrying an unfamiliar edge of excitement. "But their systems are detecting capabilities they can't classify." They're hesitating. Jake guided their vessel in a complex spiral that utilized Europa's natural currents. "Then let's give them something worth studying. Your people value data above all else, right? Time to provide some compelling evidence." He engaged their newly modified systems, channeling the stored thermal energy in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The hybrid vessel's hull began to pulse with patterns of light that mirrored the bioluminescent life forms around them, but with a precision that clearly demonstrated technological mastery. "Implementing broadcast protocols," Naira announced, understanding Jake's intent. "Transmitting complete technical data of our modifications. Let them see exactly how human intuition has enhanced our systems." The enforcer ship's formation tightened, but they made no aggressive moves. Their sensors were completely focused on the impossible vessel before them, a creation that merged the best of both worlds. "Your people think emotion makes us weak," Jake said, executing a series of maneuvers that demonstrated their vessel's enhanced capabilities. "But emotion is what drives us to try the impossible. Logic tells you what should work. Intuition shows you what could work." The hybrid vessel danced through the water, each movement demonstrating a perfect blend of calculated precision and intuitive grace. The enforcer ship's sensors recorded everything, their protocols forcing them to document this unprecedented fusion of technologies. "Energy signature analysis confirms it," Naira reported. "Our efficiency ratings exceed theoretical maximums by 47%. The integration of your intuitive control systems with our adaptive technology has created something our scientists claimed was impossible." Jake guided them through another series of demonstrations, using the thermal vents to power maneuvers that neither human nor alien ships could accomplish alone. "That's because your scientists forgot something important. The universe isn't just a set of equations to be solved. Sometimes you have to feel the rhythm of it." The enforcer ships began transmitting complex data streams, their way of requesting explanation and clarification. Through their merged systems, Jake could sense their growing uncertainty. Every movement of the hybrid vessel challenged their fundamental assumptions about human capabilities. "They're processing the data," Naira said, her voice carrying a new warmth. "But more importantly, they're experiencing something their protocols never prepared them for: wonder." Jake smiled, feeling the perfect harmony between human control and alien technology through their neural interface. "Wonder is what drives us forward. Logic tells you what is. Wonder makes you ask what could be." He brought their vessel to a hover directly between the enforcer ships, letting them scan every aspect of their creation. The hybrid hull pulsed with living light, each pattern demonstrating the perfect merger of structured design and creative adaptation. "Receiving priority communication from the collective," Naira announced suddenly. "They're requesting permission to establish direct observation protocols." "Jake, this is unprecedented. They want to learn." The enforcer ships moved back, forming a new pattern that Jake recognized as one of observation rather than containment. Through their merged systems, he could sense the shift in their behavior, from enforcement to investigation. "Your people value evolution above all else, right?" Jake asked, initiating a power-sharing sequence that would allow the enforcer ships to directly experience their innovations. "Well, this is evolution, not just of technology, but of understanding." The hybrid vessel began transmitting detailed technical data, showing exactly how human intuition had enhanced alien logic. The enforcer ships absorbed everything, their own systems beginning to adapt as they processed the implications. "They're recognizing the pattern," Naira said, her voice filled with wonder. "Not just the technical achievements, but the underlying truth. Emotion doesn't weaken logic, it expands it. Intuition doesn't replace precision, it enhances it." Jake guided their creation through one final demonstration, using Europa's complex currents to power a display that merged perfect mathematical precision with artistic beauty. The enforcer ships followed every movement, their sensors recording patterns that would challenge their civilization's most basic assumptions. "Your people wanted proof that humans aren't primitive," Jake said, watching as the enforcer ships began adapting their own systems based on what they'd witnessed. "Well, sometimes the best proof isn't in the math. It's in what the math makes possible when you add the human element." The enforcement fleet's energy signatures shifted, their patterns changing from containment to escort. They had come to capture what they saw as a dangerous anomaly. Instead, they had discovered something that would transform their understanding of both human potential and their own limitations. "The collective is requesting our presence," Naira announced, her voice carrying both excitement and apprehension. "Not as fugitives, but as innovators. Jake, you've done more than prove human worth. You've shown my people a new path forward." The collective's central chamber was a vast sphere of crystalline structures, each surface reflecting cascading patterns of light that represented the merged consciousness of Naira's civilization. Jake stood beside their hybrid vessel, now displayed as evidence of what humans and aliens could achieve together. The chamber was filled with thousands of beings similar to Naira, their forms shifting with waves of iridescent light as they processed the data from Europa. Above them, massive holographic displays showed detailed analyses of the hybrid vessel's performances, each demonstration challenging centuries of established beliefs. "Begin presentation sequence." The collective spoke as one, their merged voices creating harmonics that made the crystal chamber resonate. "Explain the anomaly." Jake stepped forward, his presence alone a break from protocol. Humans had never been allowed to address the collective directly. "What you call an anomaly, we call innovation. Your civilization has achieved incredible things through pure logic, but you've forgotten something essential about the nature of discovery." He gestured to their hybrid vessel, its hull still adapting and evolving even as they watched. "You see emotion as a weakness, intuition as a flaw. But look at what we created when we combined your precision with human instinct." A holographic display shifted, showing the moment their vessel had harnessed Europa's thermal vents, a feat that violated several of the collective's established laws of physical limitation. "Impossible outcomes detected," the collective announced. "Human interference should have reduced efficiency. Instead, capabilities exceeded theoretical maximums." Naira's form pulsed with confident light as she joined Jake. "Because we were asking the wrong questions. We assumed emotion and logic were opposing forces. The human Jake Harrison showed me they are complementary aspects of a greater whole." The chamber filled with waves of deep blue light, the collective's expression of uncertainty. Jake recognized his opportunity. He interfaced with their hybrid vessel through the neural link they'd developed, letting his emotions flow through the alien technology. The vessel responded, its hull transforming into patterns that merged mathematical precision with artistic beauty. It wasn't just a demonstration of technology. It was a display of how emotion could enhance rather than hinder technical perfection. "Your civilization advanced by removing variables you considered chaotic," Jake explained, guiding the display. "But in doing so, you also removed the spark that drives innovation. Humans don't succeed despite our emotions. We succeed because of them." The collective's light patterns shifted rapidly, processing this contradiction to their fundamental beliefs. "Provide evidence of emotional advantage." Naira interfaced with their vessel's systems, merging her consciousness with Jake's through their shared neural link. Together, they showed not just the technical specifications of their creation, but the process of its development, each moment where human intuition had led to breakthroughs that pure logic would have dismissed as impossible. "Our analysis was flawed," Naira announced to her people. We saw human emotion as primitive, but look at what it accomplishes. They feel their way through problems we can only calculate. They imagine solutions we would never consider. And most importantly, they dare to try what our logic says cannot be done. The chamber erupted in waves of green and gold, surprise and recognition. The collective's merged consciousness began to shift, centuries of certainty giving way to new possibilities. But the real breakthrough, Jake continued, isn't just what humans can offer you. It's what we can achieve together. Your technology enhanced by our creativity. Your precision guided by our intuition. He initiated their vessel's final demonstration protocol. The hybrid craft began to transform, its hull flowing like liquid metal while maintaining perfect mathematical harmony. It was a dance of logic and emotion, each enhancing the other in ways neither civilization had imagined possible. Observation. Previous models of human capability require revision. The collective announced. Query. What are the implications for future development? Naira's form brightened with enthusiasm. We don't need to abandon logic to embrace emotion. Jake showed me that the greatest discoveries happen when we use both. His intuition enhanced our technology beyond its designed limitations precisely because he wasn't bound by our assumptions of what was possible. The chamber's crystalline surfaces began to pulse with new patterns, ones that merged the structured beauty of alien mathematics with more organic emotional rhythms. The collective was not just processing the information. They were experiencing it. Proposal, the merged voices announced. Establishment of Joint Research Initiative. Purpose. Exploration of human-alien technological synthesis. Secondary objective. Study of emotional intelligence integration. Jake smiled, feeling the shift in the chamber's energy. You're not just offering to study us anymore, are you? You want to learn from us. With us. The collective's response came in waves of deep purple, their closest approximation to wonder. Affirmative. Human Jake Harrison has demonstrated that evolution requires more than logical progression. It requires the capacity to imagine what logic alone cannot conceive. Naira moved closer to Jake, her form radiating with joy that needed no translation. We stand at a threshold, not just of technological advancement, but of understanding. Two approaches to the universe, each incomplete without the other. The chamber filled with light of every spectrum as the collective reached their decision. The crystalline surfaces resonated with a new frequency, one that carried both mathematical precision and emotional harmony. Initiative approved, they announced. Begin immediate implementation of human-alien collaboration protocols. Objective. Integration of emotional intelligence with logical processing. Goal. Evolution beyond current limitations. Jake looked at their hybrid vessel, the living proof of what was possible when different worlds came together. That's the thing about emotions, he said to the assembled consciousness of an alien civilization. They don't just make us feel, they make us dream. And dreams are where the impossible becomes possible. The chamber's lights merged into a single brilliant display. The moment when a civilization built on pure logic embraced the power of human emotion. In the depths of Europa's ocean, they had created something new. But here, in this crystal chamber, they had started something even greater, a revolution not just in technology, but in understanding. As the collective began implementing their new protocols, Jake and Naira shared a moment of perfect comprehension. They had proven that the greatest discoveries happen not when we reject our differences, but when we learn to combine them in ways neither side could have imagined alone. The future that opened before them was bright with possibilities, a fusion of human heart and alien mind that would take both civilizations to heights they had never dreamed possible.